Kickoff round 2, we have the young at heart Kathy Vallio and the hyperactive Hayla Stewart. Did they just get in the boat for a photo opportunity?
I think they did.
Boy, there is a lot of energy between these two.
Let's do this!
Hayla's tee shot, looking for a straight putt under the fish, through those obstacles onto the green.
All right, hole in one, hole in one. There you go, there you go.
Hayla Stewart ball kicks to the left.
Nice. Oh, no. Oh.
Now comes the hard part. Hayla has to time this run just right. Got to get past the fish, otherwise it's a stroke penalty. I don't know if the blazer is the best thing to run in.
I will say this about her outfit, Joe. It does look very sophisticated. Now, do you think she knows the start-stop, or do you think she's just going to try and run and gun?
This is definitely going to be the start-stop, but I don't sense a lot of quick burst.
Wow, what was that? She got battered. Battered fish. I got the ultimate fish puns all day, Joe. That's what I'm about. Some people might even call it a boatload.
Look at Kathy down there, just loving life. You know what I love about mini golf is that it's for all ages, all kinds, and Kathy's a great example of that.
A little slice of America. Just like you take your whole family out, you're going to get smacked in the face with a hot cannon blast of water. It's a sport for all.
That's a good tee shot. That's a good tee shot.
Watch the comeback.
Watch the comeback. Oh,
Nice.
Beautiful.
Wow. Almost a tap in.
Magnificent tee shot for Kathy Vallio. She has proven to be a warrior.
63. She's out there hooking and jamming.
Look at her. She's swaying back and forth, trying to find the rhythm.
That's Tai Chi. The most ineffective Tai Chi I've ever seen in my life. Oh, here's the replay, Joe. That was the most gentle good night I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was. It was a suggestion.
It was a suggestion by the fish. It wasn't even a thrust or a power move or a...
There was no threat by the fish.
Wait a second. Before you go any further, why don't you have a cool drink? And she goes, okay, yeah, I think I will. Classic Kathy.
Classic Kathy.
All right, Hayla's up.
So they both lie, too, but Kathy's got something easy to clean up here.
I'm just going to knock your ball out.
It's getting real. I can't scale it back at this point.
Wow. Hayla Stewart, this for a 3. Oh. I mean, just not enough on that shot. And now we have Kathy Vallio, who says if she wins Holy Moly, she's going to donate her prize to a local children's charity. Could be heading to...
This is an ABC News special report. Now reporting, David Muir.
Good evening. We're coming back on the air because President Biden is about to address the nation after the horrific and deadly mass shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, about 80 miles outside San Antonio. Tonight, 18 elementary school children, we have learned, were shot and killed, and 2 adults, including a 4th grade teacher. We've now learned the teacher's name, Eva Morales. The gunman, suspected 18-year-old at the school, also dead. The governor identifying him as 18-year-old Salvador Ramos. The governor said Ramos shot and killed his own grandmother before going to that school. President Biden just returned to the White House tonight after his trip to Asia. He spoke with Governor Abbott while on board Air Force One. The White House saying the president has promised any and all assistance. The president again lowering flags to half staff at the White House. And of course, it was just 10 days ago he ordered flags lowered following the mass shooting in Buffalo, New York. Uvalde is a rural town of fewer than 20,000 people. If you look at the map there, you can see it's not far from the Mexico border. We learned today, as this was all unfolding, that some of the children were taken to San Antonio. Others were taken to the Uvalde Memorial Hospital right there in that community. We also watched as parents, in a familiar scene, an all too familiar scene in this country, rush to the scene asking questions. One father rushing up to our reporter at the scene and asking her, did she know where parents should go? He even asked her where the funeral is, looking for any information on his own child. She said many of the parents said they were looking for their 10-year-olds. That was her clue as to what the age might be of the children. You can see the First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, there, and the President approaching the microphone to address the nation.
Good evening, fellow Americans. I'd hoped when I became president I would not have to do this again. Another massacre. Uvalde, Texas. An elementary school. Beautiful, innocent, second, third, fourth graders. And how many scores of little children who witnessed what happened see their friends die as if they're in a battlefield, for God's sake. They'll live with it the rest of their lives. There's a lot we don't know yet. There's a lot we do know. The parents who will never see their child again, never have them jump in bed and cuddle with them. Parents who will never be the same. To lose a child is like having a piece of your soul ripped away. There's a hollowness in your chest. You feel like you're being sucked into it and never going to be able to get out. Suffocating. And it's never quite the same. It's the feeling shared by the siblings and the grandparents and the family members and the community that's left behind. Scripture says, and Jill and I have talked about this in different contexts, in other contexts. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. So many crushed spirits. So tonight, I ask the nation to pray for them and give the parents and siblings the strength in the darkness they feel right now. As a nation, we have to ask, when in God's name are we going to stand up to the gun lobby? When in God's name we do what we all know in our gut needs to be done? It's been 3,448 days, 10 years since I stood up at a high school in Connecticut, a grade school in Connecticut, where another gunman massacred 26 people, including 20 first graders at Sandy Hook Elementary School. Since then, there have been over 900 incidents of gunfires reported on school grounds. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. Santa Fe High School in Texas. Oxford High School in Michigan. The list goes on, and the list grows when it includes mass shootings at places like movie theaters, houses of worship, as we saw just 10 days ago at a grocery store in Buffalo, New York. I am sick and tired of it. We have to act. And don't tell me we can't have an impact on this carnage. I spent my career as a senator and a vice president working to pass common sense gun laws. We can and won't prevent every tragedy, but we know they work and have positive impact. When we passed the assault weapons ban, mass shootings went down. When the law expired, mass shootings tripled. The idea that an 18-year-old kid can walk into a gun store and buy 2 assault weapons is just wrong. What in God's name do you need an assault weapon for except to kill someone? Deer aren't running through the forest with Kevlar vests on, for God's sake. It's just sick. And the gun manufacturers have spent 2 decades aggressively marketing assault weapons, which make them the most and largest profit. For God's sake, we have to have the courage to stand up to the industry. Here's what else I know. Most Americans support common sense laws, common sense gun laws. I just got off a trip from Asia, meeting with Asian leaders. And I learned of this while I was on the aircraft. And what struck me on that 17-hour flight, what struck me was these kinds of mass shootings rarely happen anywhere else in the world. Why? They have mental health problems. They have domestic disputes in other countries. They have people who are lost. But these kinds of mass shootings never happen with the kind of frequency they happen in America. Why? Why are we willing to live with this carnage? Why do we keep letting this happen? Where in God's name is our backbone to have the courage to deal with it and stand up to the lobbies? It's time to turn this pain into action. For every parent, for every citizen in this country, we have to make it clear to every elected official in this country, it's time to act. It's time for those who obstruct or delay or block the common sense gun laws. We need to let you know that we will not forget. We can do so much more. We have to do more. Our prayer tonight is for those parents lying in bed and trying to figure out, will I be able to sleep again? What do I say to my other children? What happens tomorrow? May God bless the loss of innocent life on this sad day. And may the Lord be near the brokenhearted and save those crushed in spirit, because they're going to need a lot of help and a lot of our prayers. God love you.
President Biden in the Roosevelt Room with Dr. Jill Biden, the First Lady, speaking to the nation after the deadly mass shooting at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas today. The president speaking of his time as vice president, traveling to Sandy Hook some 10 years ago when 26 people were killed, including 20 first graders at the time. He talked about the children who survived this today, saying how many scores of little children witnessed what happened. It was as if they were in a battlefield. He said they'll know that and remember that moment and the terror their entire lives. He talked about the crushed spirits, the lives that were lost, their families heartbroken who were left behind, and you saw for a moment he turned behind him to the First Lady, who also tweeted out her own heartbreak at the news here today. And she pushed, the president pushed for action from Congress, saying it's time to act. I want to bring in our chief White House correspondent, Cecilia Vega. Cecilia, he said right at the top he hoped when he became president he would not have to address the nation like this, and in the last week and a half he's had to talk about Buffalo, California, and now Texas.
Addressing the nation 2 times in 1 week over a mass shooting, David, lowering the flags here at the White House and on federal buildings twice in the last few days because of these horrific mass shootings. We are seeing a president who is clearly grieving, a president speaking about the hollowness that comes from losing a child. He, of course, is speaking from personal experience on that front. But this is a president who is frustrated. This is a president who is angry, to use the words of the First Lady, who is also by his side there tonight, a teacher herself, who tweeted this afternoon that she is stunned, heartbroken, and angry. Lord, enough. The president saying that he is sick and tired, that we have to act. He is calling, renewing these calls that we have heard from him, particularly for a ban on assault weapons. David, we have talked about this after these shootings time and time and time again. Gun control remains stalled even 10 years after that horrific tragedy at Sandy Hook. To this day, it remains stalled on Capitol Hill. Congress is not acting on that front. The Democrats do not have the votes even needed to move forward on any kind of assault weapons ban. So we said, again, I will say this, David, we have seen this president in a week's time, just unthinkable, in a week's time addressing this nation in the wake of a mass shooting. And here we are asking this administration and lawmakers in this city, when is enough going to be enough? And they still don't have that answer.
And Cecilia, it's always interesting when you see the juxtaposition of a president, in this case now President Biden, as presidents have done so before him. He talked about Sandy Hook, he talked about Parkland and the scores of other schools that have come afterward, where the public polling stands on some sort of action to try to cut down on these mass shootings moving forward, that the public polling is in one place, and yet, as you point out, the votes on Capitol Hill simply aren't there.
Yeah, that's exactly right, David. In some ways, as journalists, I think it feels very simple when you point it out that way, that the American public wants to see some kind of action on gun control, and yet this city, lawmakers, this administration, Republicans and Democrats, are completely stalled. I'll give you just a quick example. We heard from Republican Senator Ted Cruz of Texas say today, inevitably, when there's a murder of this kind, you see politicians try to politicize it. You see Democrats and the media, he says, trying to restrict constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens. We're back at square one on the basis of this debate over gun control.
Cecilia Vega live at the White House tonight. Cecilia, thank you for being here with us tonight. Hearing the president address the nation tonight, saying he was hoping he would not have to do this as president, and as Cecilia points out, he's now done it a couple of times in just the last week and a half. I want to bring in our investigative reporter Aaron Katursky, who's been reporting this out with me all afternoon and into the evening. What we're learning now about the suspect, 18 years old, believed to be a student at the high school in that small, tight-knit community. We have the name of the fourth grade teacher now, Eva Morales, but we'd also be remiss if we didn't mention that authorities revealed pretty early on today that they believe the suspect, there's the teacher right there, the fourth grade teacher, that they believe the suspect also killed his grandmother before going to that school.
That began what you heard President Biden call the battlefield there in Uvalde, Texas, killing his grandmother before this 18-year-old Salvador Ramos went inside the elementary school and turned the gun on kids. We believe mainly third and fourth graders, 18 of whom authorities now say were killed. David, this battlefield was both outside the school and inside the school. We're told the suspect was engaged by police officers outside from the Uvalde Independent School District. They were simply outgunned. We're told that he was carrying an AR-15 style rifle that authorities have recovered at the scene. He was able to move inside the school, where he opened fire in at least one, if not more, classrooms, and there was an awful lot of gunfire exchanged with law enforcement. David, for some of the responding officers, this was deeply personal. A number of agents from Customs and Border Protection have kids who go to that school. They were there responding to this mass shooting, David.
And Aaron, we're just learning from our team that you work very closely with that the shooting took place as soon as the suspect entered the school, and that all of the victims at the school died, quote, in the same location inside that school. We know from our team on the scene that many of the parents who were showing up today were asking where they could find information on their loved ones, and in many cases they pointed out that their loved ones were 10 years old, which gave us an idea of what grade this might have been.
Mainly third and fourth graders, David, 9, 10 years old. Just heartbreaking to think of those victims and the anguish, the crushed spirits, as the president called it, of their parents tonight, that have to now figure out how to go on with their lives after having their kids gunned down inside a school. And the president ticked off the numerous shootings that have happened inside schools. This one by an 18-year-old, police say. They're now going through his social media accounts. They're seeing a number of images of guns and other violent content, trying to figure out why this happened, David.
Aaron Katursky with us all afternoon and evening. Aaron, our thanks to you. And the numbers are just chilling. It's hard to wrap your head around this. But again, we're now at 18 elementary school children shot and killed today, along with that teacher, again, Eva Morales, a fourth grade teacher. We're also learning from our team that the gunman was quickly confronted by law enforcement inside that building after these shootings were underway. The spokesperson would not say if that meant that this 18-year-old was confronted inside a classroom or in fact inside a hallway, but that the shooter did not move throughout the school from classroom to classroom, as we have seen in some of these past shootings. So it would appear at this point, and again, it's still early in the this investigation that the shooter targeted a specific classroom in taking these lives, these precious lives. And as you heard the president talk about the crushed spirits of these families who waited at that civic center this afternoon for word. I want to bring in Maria Villarreal, who is our Texas reporter. She got to the scene very quickly today. And Maria, we were on the air this afternoon, and I still can't get it out of my mind when you reported in the father who got to the scene and was looking for answers, as parents always do in these communities, coming up to you and asking if you could at least tell him where the funeral home was. Maybe he could get information there.
There definitely was a lot of chaos, David, when this all started to unfold, even in the afternoon. I mean, this happened at 11:30 in the morning, and parents were showing up at about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, still unsure about what had happened to their children. And that father, yes, asking me if I knew where the funeral home was, because he didn't know where his child was at the time, still missing, hadn't found that person at the Civic Center or the local hospitals. We've heard from a number of parents since then that have said the same exact thing, and grandparents who are still here, you know, waiting on curbsides to try and find out more information about their child and how this could have happened. Now a number of people are asking us, how is it possible that this young man was able to buy this type of gun, these types of guns? And on top of that, the questions still remain about how he was able to get into this school. Some of the parents have told us that there may have been some sort of graduation service happening for some of the younger children, and that might have been why he was able to slip in. But still, a number of people coming to the aid of the victims, trying to subdue this particular suspect. And in the process, like we've seen, even Mireles losing her life trying to protect some of the students inside this school. Right now, just want to repeat, we have been able to confirm with the Texas DPS troopers here on scene that 18 children lost their lives today and 2 adults. So a very heartbreaking situation, but still a lot of details still left unknown.
And with just a few moments left, Maria, let me just ask you one quick question here. You pointed out the grandparents that you said are still sitting curbside there, so just reinforcing this notion that many families are still waiting for official word on their loved ones, on these children.
They are, and I think a lot of that has to do with the scene you see behind me. A lot of stuff is still happening here. Texas Rangers now taking the lead here on this investigation. They still have to go inside, and they have to process all of this before they can come out and completely identify the victims.
That is just heartbreaking. Maria Villarreal there in Uvalde, Texas for us tonight. Again, the toll just staggering in one more community here in this country, in Uvalde, Texas. 18 elementary school children shot and killed, including a teacher, a 4th grade teacher whose name is Eva Morales. I'm David Muir in New York. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
This has been a special report from ABC News.